So hello and welcome to our presentation for you today, this evening, this afternoon, or whenever you're listening to it, called Just Say Yes. So we have on the slide here, looking to advance your career, pivot the beauty industry, or reinvent your brand, whether you're a beginner or an expert, then we would like to invite you to find out how saying yes can change it all. And I'm here with the very lovely Holly Hayes. Before I do anything else, I would just like to pass you over to Holly.
Yay! Thank you, Louise. Very excited to be here. This was a good little idea that we had to just jump on here and have a chat and talk about our stories and how it's led us in similar but different directions, I guess.
Absolutely.
So let's get into it today. So, Louise, if you want to tell us a little bit more about the Industry Support Network, which I'm very happy to be a part of now.
Fabulous. It is a network, and that's really what it was set up for. The idea being that there are lots of fractionated sort of sections within our industry, not only the diversity with the hair, the holistic, the beauty, the nails, the lashes, the brows, the training, but also within that, I could see that there were a lot of pockets of really, really fantastic stuff going on, but people weren't sharing, they weren't collaborating. And I'm quite a big collaborator. I like to kind of pull everybody in and signpost people to all sorts of things. So what I wanted to create was a platform where anybody who is starting out or struggling to get through their training or struggling to actually build a business or literally just surviving, as so many of us are, is to go to one hub where people could look at what is available. Because if you go into a Facebook group and you say, I'm looking for, you'll have so many people that are giving you their perspective, and it always comes from their position, their viewpoint, and their point of reference, and that's not necessarily yours. So I wanted to create something where anybody could look at everything that was available, like a shop window. So peering through the shop window to look at all of these goodies inside, and then to come on in and actually to have a look at all the shelves. So we'll have shelves full of coaches, shelves full of training, shelves full of products and insurance companies and all sorts of things. And the idea being is that people would be able to have a look and find the thing that they didn't even know that they didn't know. So there's that saying, isn't there, is that there are known knowns, so things that you know, and there are unknown knowns, so there are things that you know that you don't know. But the big problem is that there are unknown unknowns, and this is where we all sit. You know, how do you know what you don't know? So by coming to the table and actually peering through the window, it's a case of, that's my problem. That's what I want to do. So that's where Industry Support Network sits. Yeah.
I love it. I think it's great. It is like a one-stop shop where you can just, have a look through and see what's available. And I think it's a very powerful statement that you say about you don't know what you don't know. And, as experts in our field, we are here to tell people what they don't know. So
absolutely,
very exciting. Okay, so this is me.
Yeah, so just a little bit about me. I can't really do anything else. I've been in the beauty industry all my life. I actually trained as a hairdresser and a wig maker back in the day, so multi-skilled but don't actually use them. I worked for City and Guilds as an external verifier. I then went on to set up my own academy back in 2001. So we are 21 years old this year. We covered a whole range of beauty and nail and complementary therapy, and literally 2 days before the pandemic started in the UK and we were locked down, I finished my last beauty course, and I made a decision that I wanted to retire when I was 55, and I didn't quite make the retiring, but I actually retired from the classroom, then obviously it all hit. But we now specialize in complementary therapies, so specifically reflexology, massage and facials. And then the Industry Support Network was born probably in about 2017, but sort of sat in the wings for a little bit because I didn't quite know what to do with it or how to make it work. And then through lockdown, there was a group of my colleagues that we got together to sort of just chat like we're doing now, Holly, about all sorts of things. But it was mainly around the academic side of things, teaching qualifications, the difference between qualification and accreditation, what were learning outcomes and what made a good course, all of those sorts of things to support the industry. And then from there, the YouTube channel was launched, and we're building up slowly all sorts of interviews with people, an interesting thing for people to come and find out what they don't know.
Right, exactly.
My details, my mobile number and my website is sort of plastered over everything, but it's literally industrysupportnetwork.com.
Yes, very easy to
That's
find.
how people can get hold of me.
And this is me.
This is you.
So I am a qualified beauty therapist and have been for over 15 years now. My career, actually, I was just having this conversation recently. Why did you get into waxing? The famous question. And honestly, my answer for why I decided to become a waxing specialist is that I really just didn't like offering any of the other treatments because I couldn't talk and I'd like to talk. And during waxing, guess what? I can talk. Not only can I talk, but I'm actually encouraging myself to talk and my clients to talk because they might be nervous, they may have shaved, there could be pain coming their way. So, it's been ideal for me. And from that career of loving to talk and then finding that I was quite good at waxing, became the global waxing trainer for Caron Lab Australia and Wax Express for almost 10 years.
Of course, what we can hear from your accent, Holly, is that you're not UK. So
right. So I am from Australia. It's an Australian brand that I was working for, and that's what took me to the UK in 2015, which is what we're going to talk a little bit about in a moment, which is a fun story. But from there, I actually, as you said, during the pandemic, you had plans to retire and to do different things. And during the pandemic, I didn't realize that I also needed a change in my life. And I just thought, you know what, I think it's time to sort of put down the spatula for a while and maybe just help people, more mentally with their mindset and creating the life of their dreams and, realizing that there is light at the end of this tunnel, even though, again, it doesn't feel like there is right now, but there is somewhere, right? So now more in the transformation space. So that's what I'm going to be focusing on today. For all of you that are in this industry, the thing I realized is that we do have this common thing that we all share, and I'm sure, Louise, you've been through this many times yourself, is that we are our own worst critic. And sometimes the way that we talk to ourselves, particularly if we have a tough day with a client and we kind of just think like, oh my God, am I even really good at this? Is she right that, maybe I wasn't on my A game today? Am I capable of ever doing anything more? And we've all been there, done that. And I really want to share how I got myself out of that and how it's led to my success and pivoting my own career. So you can contact me, Instagram, it's at its_Holly Hayes. And my website is itshollyhayes.com. So you can find me there and I would love to chat with you more. So I had to go deep into the archives to find this photo. This
wow.
was me in 2015 when I came to your location. Basically how that all unfolded is a really funny story. And I think it's funny because a lot of my teachings, I actually talk the opposite. I actually talk about saying no more and actually asserting boundaries with people. But I think in terms of career development, and I think you agree with me here, Louise, it's very important that if you are trying to develop your career, launch a new brand, a new product, I think yes does need to be your very firm word for that initial stage in that new project, because it is going to open a lot of doors for you and you don't know what's going to be behind a lot of those doors.
Absolutely. I think we say no to ourselves that we can't achieve it. And I have a number of times over the last year had to have some positive self-talk with myself that says, yes, you can. Yes, you can.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, it's an interesting when to use yes and when to use no.
No, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
exactly. So basically, we said yes to each other.
We
This
did.
is how I ended up here at Phoenix Academy
Mm.
in 2015. But before that, we have a very funny story that we would like to share about how. So this was actually my first trip to London. Had no idea what I was doing. Also had to set up a free training event at the Hilton Hotel while Olympia Expo was on at the time. And I really had no idea what I was doing, Louise. And then we came in contact with each other, and I was like, "Oh, she seems nice. I'm going to ask her if she can help me to, like, how do I get a waxing table to this event?
Yeah.
I need to put the model on something." And we
Yeah.
kind of, I just asked you, like, I just thought, "Oh, she seems lovely, like she might know." And you were like giving me all these pointers on like where I could buy one from. And then I was thinking, "Oh God, how do I get it to the hotel?" And we kind of went back and forth for a little bit. And then you so kindly just said, "You know what? I'm coming anyway. I can just bring my couch and, park at the Hilton
Yeah.
and lend it to you guys." And I was like, "What?" Like, she's willing to do this for a complete stranger who lives on the opposite side of the world that's in town for a few days.
I mean, it was quite fortunate. I don't live too far away from London, so if I'd have been in Manchester, then maybe I
Right.
wouldn't have offered. But
We wouldn't be here today.
an hour and a bit drive, and it probably took me about the same time to drive into central London than it would have done on the train.
Right,
So,
exactly.
a parking space was easy to get for you, so that kind of clinched the deal, really. So,
Yeah. No, it was amazing. And I remember that day, and yeah, you came along with your couch and you stayed during the training. And I just remember you were really captivated by everything
yeah,
that we had done. And then we said, "Well, look, you're obviously not far away from London. Why don't we come and visit with some of your students?" And we organized that really quickly, if I
yeah,
remember correctly.
yes,
And
it
we just
was.
said,
Yeah,
you were just like, "All right, just come, like whoever's there on that day." And then I remember we actually ended up, I think one of your students was sitting an exam or a practice exam or something. And we ended up spending
yes,
quite a lot of time with her
yeah,
in the room, just helping her with her waxing. And she's like, where I was there with Lillian Caron, the founder,
yeah,
on that trip. And she was like, "Where did these women come from? They're just, you want to help me?" Like, again, it was just like people,
yeah.
just that people offering you help for free for not asking for anything back is just like so rare, that she was just like, "You want to spend time with me and help me? Like, why?"
Yeah, I remember she was very unconfident, wasn't she? So she was a brand new
Yeah,
waxer, really. She'd done her
yeah,
training, so she was just qualified, hadn't even, so we talk about bikini line waxing being neat and tidy. And,
right.
there she was, this baptism of fire,
Yes,
getting in the thick of it. Yeah.
it
So,
was a great time.
but we had, I remember the room was packed, wasn't it? We had so many people there that for our little room.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was actually at our salon, because it was the time
Yes.
when we had a salon associated with the training, because we did 16 to 19 funded contracts as well as our lovely adults, and we had the change in structure meant that they had to be what was called a study program, so they had to have realistic kind of work
Yeah.
experience or some other contribution, and I thought actually this is probably the best thing for us. So we took premises, and that's another really long story about how that happened. Save it for another time. But so we ended up with this first floor salon that became a training and the therapy rooms, which you can see the poster there. So we had a couple of qualified therapists, but then our students were, is a bit like a sort of an unconventional apprenticeship where they would sort of shadow and work, and it was really good.
Yes.
Really, really good.
It was good. It was
Yeah.
it was a really great concept. Yeah.
But I just fell in love with the brand as well. It was so quirky, and if I still use the products myself now, even though I've
Excellent.
retired,
Yes.
because they're great. They're great.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, we have more to say on this, no doubt. That yes did change it all. So I guess yeah, well, I love this word, pivot. That was like my 2020 word. It was like, we're pivoting, everybody has to pivot because we had no choice, right? So that was a forced pivot. And I think what a lot of us maybe didn't realize at that time, I didn't realize how burnt out I was. And one of the things in my training, in my waxing training, always would talk about protecting your body, right? Because there is an expiry date with this industry. And if you don't protect your body and you don't treat it well, and you don't have your bed at the right height, and you don't have your trolley on the right hand side or the left hand side, depending on if you're right handed or left handed, and everything, you know, even just the thought about going into someone's waxing room that's not set up for me gives me physical anxiety, because I know that it can actually physically hurt my body as well if things are not in a certain way. So it is really important to protect your body, number one, in this industry, but burnout is real. So I think it's nice to sort of have this plan or start thinking about it, which is what I want you guys to start thinking about today, is that there is going to come to a point where your feet are going to hurt and your back's going to hurt, and you're going to need to, without exiting this industry completely, unless that's what you want to do, there is so many other things that you can do. And it's just starting to use this a little bit more to put out those little feelers as to what you can do next. And one of the things I wanted us to both speak to today, Louise, is that I love this line about, you know, what got you here won't get you there. So what got us there in our careers, you know, being hands-on or being trainers and educators, didn't get us necessarily here, right? So it's just looking at things a little bit differently and pivoting to shift towards the goal that you're trying to create next.
I think we're so caught up, aren't we, on doing the things that we always do in the way in which we do them. And I mean, there is that saying, isn't it? If you carry on doing what you're doing, you're going to carry on getting what you've got. And
Right.
I think it's so important to stop every once in a while and evaluate whether what you're doing actually really serves you anymore. And I think that was the one thing that actually lockdown did do for a lot of people, is that, you know, and it's very sad. An awful lot of my colleagues, you know, came out with statements like, oh, I've had enough of this industry, and, you know, I can't do this anymore. And possibly have left the industry, and yet they have so much to offer and so much to give. And it's, if you could just stop for a moment and take some time to really look internally and to, yeah, ask the right questions of yourself as well.
Yeah. And it's okay to take a break. One of the beautiful things about this industry, and that's why I got into it as well, because I knew once I had those hands-on skills, they would be with me forever. So I can take a break, and I'm taking a break right now. I have not touched the spatula since the end of 2020. So I'm taking a break right now. But if I really have that calling and I feel like I need to go back hands-on, or I need to start teaching people again, I just pick it back up. It's like riding a bike. It never leaves me. I might be a bit slower at the beginning, but I'll pick it back up and I'll jump right back in, and I'll be like, oh, here she is again. She's still there, that esthetician in me, you know?
It's interesting. I see a lot of people. We do quite a lot of refresher training for people.
Yes.
And it seems to be quite a sort of a commonality amongst people that when they're 16, 17, 18, they'll go off and do their full beauty training, and then they'll maybe work for a little bit. Maybe they haven't made as much money as they would have liked, so they leave, they do something else. They have their families, they realize that that something else doesn't suit them anymore, and they come back to beauty, and then they have this wonderful second wind career, which is amazing. I don't think there's any other industries really that offer that.
Quite like that. No.
Yeah.
And it's true, that second wind, because you do burn out. You do get sick of being in the room with the clients day in, day out. Physically, mentally, it can be draining. But when you take time away and then you realize how much you miss that interaction or being part of a team or helping the clients, it is that second wind. And that's probably where you'll find you'll have your most success, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's wonderful. And I think one of the other things I want to touch on is just communicating and networking, which is how you know, birth to life this idea, which I love what you said about how it was an idea from like 2017, but you didn't really know what to do with it. And that's okay. We put this pressure on ourselves that like, okay, here's the download, here's the idea. I have to be an instant overnight success. I need to get this to the world. And it's like, it's not always going to come together like that.
No. No.
So
I
it's
heard
just
something. I
like,
heard something recently, which I thought was quite funny. It was talking about business ideas, and do you put them in the loft or do you just put them in the fridge?
right.
And it's that concept of, you don't, you could just, they could just sit there and they can be, nicely stored in the fridge to keep fresh for when you want them. Yeah, you don't have to
Yeah.
put them all in the loft and discard them, never to be seen
No,
again.
it's true. Keep them in the fridge
Yeah.
and keep them nice and fresh. And then when the time
Mm.
is right,
Mm.
like when lockdown presented itself, you could have just sat around twiddling your thumbs, but no, you decided to create a network
Yeah.
and to support other people. So,
Mm.
one of the things that I've written here is planned or unplanned, it's happening for you, right? So this is not happening to you. Lockdown didn't happen to us. It happened for us so that we could start to reevaluate what's important. Did I need to fine tune my skills? I spent all of 2020 on Zoom every week doing pretty much the same presentation with a variety of maybe 2 or 3, Brazilian, eyebrows, body, whatever it might have been, with the same people coming back week after week, just soaking up the knowledge. Because guess what? As you said about refresher training, they had never had time to do refresher training. They were all so busy just, making ends meet. And then suddenly when they got a chance to see this training, which they didn't know existed, because guess what? It didn't prior to 2020. None of the big brands were just giving away free training just because we didn't have time, but we had time. And people were just coming back week after week, and they're just like, you've changed my whole entire life. You've changed the way I do waxing. It was like so eye-opening for me, because to me, this is just stuff that I knew inside out. I just repurposed it, put it on Zoom, and it's like these people had never seen anything like it before. And so I was like, okay, well, if I can help them with waxing, that's so easy to me. And it just, it's like my bread and butter. It just comes so easy to do it a certain way because it's common sense, but common sense isn't always that common, right? So then I started to think, okay, well, if I could teach them that with waxing, then what can I teach people with like changing their mind and the way that they talk to themselves and the way that they set goals and the way that they get closer to those goals? And another thing I just want to touch on here before we move on as well, because a lot of things have been coming into my realm about, well, I guess we're a female dominated industry, obviously. And, the gender wage gap, right?
Yeah.
And something that really just stuck with me is women don't ask. We don't ask for more money. And this is why this has been such, a buzz topic, I guess. And I just wanted to put there, like, if you are going for a job or a pay rise, or you're pivoting, or you're looking for something more, if you don't ask, the answer is always no.
Yeah.
So if I had never have approached Quran Lab back in the day when I did, because I loved their products and I wanted to work for their brand, then everything that happened from that moment on would not have happened, right? But I asked and I approached. And it's just, people don't know you exist if you don't tell them that you exist, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. So true. So true. Yeah.
So yeah, just, back to some foundational knowledge, back to basics, as I like to call it. So particularly in aesthetics, because we are touching people. Not only are we just in close contact with them, but we are touching them. So if we don't touch them from the right energy, and I used to teach this all the time with my newbies, if you touch them and you've never done a Brazilian before, and you are nervous as hell, and you are showing that with your energy and your body language and even your words, like, hey, I'm nervous, if you're telling them that, then guess what's going to happen? They're going to be nervous. It's going to throw off the whole entire treatment. So everything is energy. So, we jumped on this call today and Louise is like, oh, your lipstick, right? That's raising my energy because I've just put bright lipstick on. Maybe I was feeling a little bit, so this morning. It's very gray out. It's raining again, Vancouver. And so how can I raise my energy? Instantly, I put my lipstick on and I'm already raising my state, right? So improving your mood when you walk into that treatment room, or when you walk on to the stage, as I used to do at all the big trade shows, right? I have to be in the right energy if I want my audience to respond.
Yeah.
Another thing, and this actually, I didn't think that this would still be coming into my realms, but I'm going to take it as a compliment. I've been working with a coach recently and talking about like launching some new products within my own brand, which I'm going to introduce here today as well. And the comment was, you're very bubbly, but some people that are maybe down on their luck, they might think, well, what can this bubbly young woman teach me about life? She hasn't been through it. And I was like, am I still coming up against this? Because when I was a waxing trainer, and I've always looked younger than what I am, so I'll take that as a compliment as well. But when I was a waxing trainer, I sometimes would stand up in front of the crowd, and I could read their faces. They'd be like, what does this young chick think she's going to teach me about waxing? Has she only been doing it probably a year or something? And I kind of liked it secretly, because then it would give me a bigger challenge, right? Because I'd have to win them over. So A game would be on. I knew my stuff. I'd wow them with my knowledge, and I'd wow them with my techniques. And then suddenly it was like, okay, she is the expert. We respect her. But I had to earn that respect because of the way I looked and because of the way I acted, because I was bubbly, and, you know, sometimes I'm nervous too. So you overcompensate by being bubbly. But you know, it's just so funny, people's perceptions, right? Of like, to me, how could being bubbly be a negative thing? I don't, but does that discredit you because you're too bubbly?
I mean, I think, you know, first impressions are so important. We know that, but equally, the way in which somebody comes across, it can be quite deceiving as well. I mean, one of the comments that I quite often get is, oh, you're nothing like we thought you were. You're quite nice. Like, oh, okay. So what did you think I was like? And, you know, we look at other people in the industry and we have this, this preconceived idea, don't we? And it's interesting. I've met a lot of my colleagues that I communicate with on Facebook through Zooms. And some of them I don't recognize, because they have their profile picture, which was probably about 15 years ago, 20 years ago. And also the way in which they communicate online is very, very different to how they are in the flesh. So,
wow. It's crazy. It is. It's those first impressions, and you can build up this whole story about how someone's going to be in your head. And then it's just like you and them in the room together, and it's like totally different. But the thing that's always gotten me where I've been going is honestly just always that positive energy, like just positivity, and just spreading that out onto everybody else. Because, you know, I'm not going to dim my light to try and fit in with the crowd that I'm around, right? And I think this is what a lot of women in particular do this, you know, for fear of being too successful or too intimidating, or, you know, whatever it might be. And we kind of like think that we need to shrink down to fit into the environment that we're in. And no, if you actually let yourself shine, you're going to bring in more people that shine just as bright. So energy is everything, whether it's a meeting, a phone interview. I had a phone call this morning. I answered the phone with a smile. Hello, Holly speaking, because people can hear that, you know. It's just back to basics. We forget about this. And when we're in that burnout of being an esthetician, oh, sorry, I'm talking North America. Oh my God, I'm so North American now. Beauty therapist.
It's interesting though. There was actually something, and I think it was on the back of a Caroline Heron's post about something or other, but the word esthetician was used, and there was this great big debate about, are we estheticians or are we beauty therapists or are we beauticians? And yeah, it's interesting.
I wish there would just be one universal word, because I always have to change my language depending on what crowd I'm talking to. But but as beauty therapists, like just keeping that vibration high, right? And a lot of things that I've realized in my teaching, again, just like back to basics here. Like if you're undernourished, if you're not eating greens, if you're not hydrated, then you really are in a lower state. You're in a lower vibration. And we know it, like when we pig out and we just, don't have the cleanest diet. You do that for 1 week, you feel like absolute crap at the end of the week. Not to mention also having to like potentially work on your feet, work really long hours. And that's kind of when we do. I know, like when I used to do the really long hours in the salon, you do really crave the fatty, the sugary foods, and it'll only keep you going for so long, and you will crash and burn.
Absolutely.
So just implement, like I just tell everyone, just have some extra greens today. Like just try and at least do that, right? Have a little bit more water. Go for your 20-minute walk. Very important. The pandemic made us so lazy. We were just all sitting on Zoom, drinking more, no doubt.
Definitely.
And not moving our bodies. If you want to get out of a funk and you want to raise your state, raise your energy really quickly, honestly, just go and get some fresh air for 20 minutes. That's all it takes. Just tools down, go outside, come back. You will be so refreshed. Talk about that second wind. Then you will have that second wind to approach your task when you've just reinvigorated the energy, right?
Yeah.
The other thing, this is a big one, and I didn't realize how much this can really affect people's state, their energy, their the work that they're churning out, is if your physical environment is a mess. Honestly, if your physical environment is a mess, that's really reflecting what's going on in here, because what goes on in here is a reflection of our outer world and vice versa, right? So if you have an important task to do, or you want to come at something from the right energy, even if you're used to just living in complete mess, at least clean that area. At least clean your desk. At least just have a nice area to do the work from. Close the door on the bedroom or the living room or whatever it is that's messy. But physical environment is also really important too, because how can you expect to, tackle the day or tackle the task if you've just got, things just all around you? It's clutter. It's distracting. And the last one here is mindfulness, right? So that doesn't mean we have to meditate. I don't know how you feel about meditation, Louise, but this is always such a big debate. People are like, I can't meditate. I don't do that. I can't quiet my mind. Like literally just taking a conscious deep breath, that is a meditation. So it doesn't have to be this complicated, like I need to clear an hour of my day, have my headphones on, like put myself, in the Zen or anything like that. It's just being a little bit more mindful throughout the day. How do you feel about that?
No, I mean, I have been practicing meditation for many, many years, but practicing is really the word. I've been practicing, and I actually can't do it very well. I have found one app that works incredibly well for me, which is a Deepak Chopra, and one particular meditation which goes through 7 stages 3 times at different levels. And for many years, probably about 4 years, I only got to the 4th session, and then I couldn't. I quit it. I just couldn't get past it. And I did my first 21 day only about 2 years ago.
That's amazing though. And the thing is, it's not trying to master it. It's just trying to practice it and get a little bit better each day. And it doesn't have to be, we don't have to put so much pressure on ourselves.
Absolutely. And I think that's the issue, is people said, I can't do it. Actually, yes, you can do it. And the more you do it, the easier it becomes, like absolutely everything. That's right. It's just training the brain. One of the things, one of the good advice I heard early on in my meditation journey is that when you are just being more mindful, and your brain is racing with all these different thoughts, and then you feel like you can't stop because you're just like, it's going here and there and everywhere. Just say here, and just bring the thoughts back to here, and then just go again. And then it is working. If your brain starts and your mind starts wandering, that is meditation. It's going to wander. It's not going to be blank. But when it starts to get really loud, you just go here and bring it back to center. And I love that. When I'm in the shower, I do that.
I'm just like, okay, haven't even started my day yet, and I'm getting a bit cray cray here. So just here, back here, and
That's a really good tip, and I will try it. I find if I get too many thoughts in too many directions, I start to feel a little bit of overwhelm, and that's the time that I have to stop, and I have to take some deep breaths, and I have to go, I suppose, my own version of here, but I'm going to try that, because it is just, get rid of that, just get rid of it, and let's just refocus.
Start
again. You can do that. Exactly. Say yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Say yes. Now I love this one. Now, actually, how we reconnected for this particular presentation is through the Tony Robbins 5-day challenge.
Yeah.
So if I took one thing out of that, it was, if you change your story, you'll change your life. Yeah. And what we tell ourselves every day, every minute of every day, is going to shape our external reality. And your mindset has so much to do with that, because if you constantly tell yourself you're not good enough, or you're not smart enough, or you're not qualified enough, if we're bringing it back to beauty therapy, like and I need to take my own advice, because we all get this way when we're entering something new, right? But I became the best in waxing. I did not just wake up one day and was the best. I was awful. You ask the people that I practiced on, my auntie, for one, she'll still tell the story about how I almost ripped her apart in the middle of my kitchen. I have stories like that. We all have stories like that. We don't just wake up one day and be instantly good at this new thing. Don't compare your day one to somebody else's day 100 and 785, right?
This is something that I would love to start a project that, when people post the pictures of their brows, their lashes, their nails, that they actually put a number on it. Because you do get that. You get some newbie that is really struggling and has managed to do a full set of 10. And posting that picture of their first full set of 10 against somebody who's done 300 sets. That's not fair.
Right. No, it's not. And
we compare ourselves with things, we compare apples with oranges or bananas, and, wonder why they're not looking the same.
Absolutely. Yep. And then that comes back to our limiting beliefs, right? When we do see all this, noise online, because now we get to see, back in our day, Louise, we didn't have to worry about looking at other people's treatments on their social media, because we never saw that. We were only ever compared to our direct peers. That was it. And that was fine, because if one of us was lagging in the team, it would just be like, okay, you pair up with Sarah, she's better at nails than you, so she's going to bring you up to speed. You're better at waxing than her. You're going to trade off that way. So much less pressure for us back in those days. But now we have to, everyone's putting their best foot forward. Reviews are everywhere. Photos of work is everywhere. Like, you really can't have, anything that's less than a 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
But how do we get there? It's practice, right? You've got to take those limiting beliefs off. Ask questions of your mentors. Ask them, how did you get so good at your skill? What did you do? I can tell you now, they didn't just, do the bare minimum. They would have been going home. They would have been living and breathing it. They would have been practicing on their family and friends. For me, I just loved waxing. So I did it during the day at my day job. I came home and all my family and friends wanted to be waxed, but I loved doing it. To me, it wasn't work. It was fun. Plus, if I could inflict pain every now and again on people I didn't like, even better. So, I really did have the dream job there.
Yeah. And this is one of the things that within the Industry Support Network we're setting up is a team of people that will be coaches and mentors, so that you've got someone to ask. And our industry is full of amazing people that are willing to give their time. Everywhere I go, I hear of stories of people that have given their time for free. I mean, obviously, sometimes there has to be some exchange of something or other, but even an exchange of energy is good. I'm a big fan of Pay It Forward. Have been for a very long time. Everything comes back to support you. So there are people there that really do want to champion you and help you any which way that they can, but they don't know that you need that help unless you ask.
Correct. Yeah, absolutely. It's just a matter of like sending a DM or
Mhm.
reaching out and just being like, hey, I really admire your work. Like, how did you get to be where you got to be?
Yeah,
Asking those questions,
yeah, yeah,
you don't know exactly. And gratitude, as you were saying, paying it forward.
yeah.
Gratitude. One of the things that I've been practicing recently is a gratitude blaster. So what I do if I'm ever feeling in a bit of a funk, or I
Yeah.
just try and do it each morning because it's a good, again, like the meditation, it's a good habit to get into. So if you think, oh, well, I don't even have anything to be grateful for, like I don't even have the dream career, or I'm nowhere near as good as what I should be, or, I'm working towards this goal, but it's not coming. Well, get rid of that. Change your story, right? Let's start at the basics. So I look out my window and I say, I'm grateful for the sky. I'm grateful for the clouds. I'm grateful for the sun. I'm grateful for the moon. I'm grateful for the pigeons, the seagulls, all the things that you're not even, we don't like pigeons and seagulls, but I'm still grateful for them. They do have their purpose, right? So I just go through. And then I start to get to, oh, I'm grateful for my successful business. I'm grateful for my 2 new clients that I onboarded this week. And then I express future gratitude. But because I'm starting with things that already exist, the pigeons and the seagulls and the ocean and all of those things, and then I run into the things that don't quite exist, then my subconscious doesn't know the difference
Yeah.
between what's actually there and what's imagined. So it's just a good little, and then you get really like pumped up because you're like, oh yeah, I do have that. Like my dream career is here. I am this person. I am full of, my ideal clients or whatever I want it to be, or working for the dream company, the dream brand. If you know what that brand is, speak the brand into fruition, make it happen, right?
Mm. Yeah. Yeah.
And then the other thing following the gratitude is creating space for the desire. A lot of people forget about this one. So if you, it's like when you've got your closet, right, full of your clothes, and it's full to the brim, but you want to buy these 5 new items because they're on sale and they're amazing. Now, how can you fit them into the closet? You've got 5 new items. The closet is to the brim. There's no extra hanging space. So you would have to donate 5 items, right? You'd have to pull 5 items out to put 5 new items in. So when your mind is just cluttered with negative thoughts, limiting beliefs, there is no room for the positive story to come in. So what you have to do is drop off some of that baggage, stop telling that story, start telling the positive story, and then you're creating space for it to come into your life, physical space for it to come in.
Yeah. That makes total sense. I mean, your brain can really only cope with a certain amount of stuff at any one time, can't they?
Right.
But how do you get rid of that limiting belief? Can you turn the story around? So if you identified, I don't know, maybe something that was causing you a problem was you felt that you weren't valued at work. Could you fill your mind with an affirmation that says something like, I am so valued while I'm at work?
Yep, exactly. So if you go into work every day already with that belief that you are undervalued, then what's going to manifest in your reality is more of being undervalued. Yeah. So if you change the story and you go into work, and I'm not saying it's going to instantly maybe happen this quick. We can train ourselves to actually have it happen that quick, but we've got to start somewhere, right? So we've got to start by going into work and being like, no, I am valued. I am an important part of this team. I am enough. I am worthy. I am worthy of, my pay rise that's coming in or whatever it might be. And we have to start telling ourselves that, not just telling ourselves, we really have to embody it and believe it. So if you're undervalued at work, then you feel undervalued at work, then what are you doing to manifest being undervalued at work? Do you just roll in on your start time? Are you 10 minutes late? Do you not have your makeup on? Are your nails tatty? Like all of these things. Like, I used to talk to my teams about this all the time. Like, you want to be manager, you want to get promoted, you want to go further, but yet you're not willing to do anything extra. You're always late, number one. You're not willing to do anything extra. Look at your appearance. It's deplorable. Like that was the biggest thing I had to, I don't know if you have the same challenges as well, but with the students coming into this industry, like the reality is you chose beauty therapy, you need to look a certain way. I'm sorry, that's it. I am not going to have my eyebrows waxed by someone who does not have their eyebrows in immaculate shape. I'm not going to have my nails done by someone who does not have immaculate nails. This is how it works. So if you're feeling undervalued, look at how you're contributing to that, because what you're putting out is what you're getting back. So you want to be valued, you need to look the part, you need to be there on time, you need to be willing to go the extra mile, because as you said before, pay it forward, right? We don't always do things because we expect it back from that person, right? You don't do things so that you will expect that your employer is straight away going to notice you and give you the pay rise. What you're actually doing is you're giving your client a better experience. Then what the client's going to do, the client's going to give you a raving review. Those raving reviews keep coming in. Then the employer starts to see that and goes, oh, okay, she is worth that extra, sometimes we're fighting over like literally $2 an hour, right? But that's what it comes down to. And that can make us feel very undervalued if we don't get that $2 extra an hour, because that's what it comes down to, right? But you put out what you get back, and vice versa.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So you have to start within if you want it to reflect in your outer world, but always remember you're not getting it back directly from that person.
And sometimes I was going to say, you're not getting it back from the person. You're also sometimes not getting it back in the way in which you expected it. Yeah. Right. You're getting it back, but in a very different way. Very interesting how it works, isn't it?
You will get it back in expected and unexpected ways. And if you remain open to that, then the sky's the limit.
Yeah.
Yeah. It really, really is. So changing the story. Now, I love this. I came up with this in 2020 during all these webinars, right? Because again, I started to look at things very objectively. In the beginning, when I rolled out my webinar program, there was only a handful of people on there, right? And then suddenly, the next time the Zoom room was full, that we had to upgrade the program. People couldn't get in. And then, as I said earlier, the same people wanted to come week after week. And I'm thinking, aren't you sick of me? Like, it's it's really the same presentation, right? But as we know, repetition and consistency does actually drum the message home. So if you're not quite learning it, then you need to keep hearing it until you get it. But what I realized, that what made me different, what made me successful with my training career in waxing, particularly waxing, passion. I never lost the passion.
Yeah.
I love waxing. I love having waxing treatments done. I don't shave. I love doing waxing, and I love the end results that I get from my clients. I'm passionate about it because I have been able to solve issues for people and make them feel better about themselves. That's why we get into this industry, is because we do things cosmetically to people's bodies and appearances, and we make them feel better about themselves. So my passion, whatever it is you're doing, whatever next chapter in your career, like Louise with the Industry Support Network, you're doing that because you're passionate about helping people in the industry, and that shines through. And that's where the success comes from. If you've got the passion, then the purpose will then follow. What is your why? Why are you doing what are you doing? If you don't have the why really clear, then the story starts to fall apart a little bit. The cracks start to form. There's so much noise. And this really does give me overwhelm sometimes too. Social media, it has made our lives so much easier, but it makes us feel like there is so much more competition. Why is someone going to see little old me? Like, I'm here. Don't forget about me. What do I do differently? Like, her work might look better or smell better or whatever it might be, right? But there's room for all of us, and we all have our own purpose, which is unique to us. And that's what's going to resonate with your client, whichever form of the word we're talking about, whether we're in the room with the client, whether we're talking education, whether we're talking marketing, whatever it might be within this very, very, very diverse industry that we have. There's so many options, but you've got to remember it's unique to you. And I used to say this all the time in my waxing training as well. If you have a bad client, do not take that personally, because not everyone is going to like everyone. I had my request clients, my co-workers had their request clients. We all made good money. We were all busy, right? but not everyone is going to like you. And this is just what it is. Not everyone's going to resonate with your message. Not everyone likes the way I wax a Brazilian. And I had to realize that not everyone was going to love it. There was a lot of people that did, but there would be, you know, that 1 out of 10 that would be like, oh, can I see someone else? Fine, no worries. Right?
And that's okay as well, isn't it?
Yep.
What was just going through my mind was the idea of coaches and having different people offering different things. It's okay that one person's personality. I mean, I follow a lot of coaches. And some of them I absolutely love and I can't get enough of. For me, a lot of it is about their voice and the way in which they present themselves. And other coaches, it just makes me cold. That it just doesn't work for me. Yeah.
They don't resonate. Exactly. And the only way that we figure out what resonates for us is by trying.
Of course.
Whether we try a different beauty therapist, or we try a different coach, or we try a different educator, or whatever it might be, we don't know until we try. So it's really important. And as we're saying about personality, the reason I had success in education is because I have a personality. People would watch me for hours, or, you know, follow me. I remember one time, one of my really great stories is when I was doing training frequently in Thailand, actually. And it was like year after year, I'd keep going back to the same places. And there was women there that were like, we drove 5 hours to come to your training and we came last year. And they would just keep coming. And again, I'd be like thinking, but I do the same thing year after year. Right. But it's like, you know, it's like back to the Tony Robbins thing. Like he's, you know, he teaches you don't need to reinvent the wheel. He teaches the same thing, but it's that consistency and that repetition that makes it to start to sink in. Plus you really like the presenter. You come for their personality. So to get seen in this industry, yes, you do have to have somewhat of a personality. You need to shine. And not everyone's going to like that. That's okay. But you will find your brand and you will find your people. So don't dim your light.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's a tough thing to learn. I think that's one of the things about getting older, is that actually you do feel more comfortable in your own skin. And you do get to the point where you have enough resolve to actually question, you know, is that my problem that you don't like me?
Yes. Yeah, exactly. And I mean, again, back to social media, this has made it, people will tell you that they hate you on social media. I had a troll recently. He told me that he wanted to bleach his eyes by looking at my video. But you know what, Louise, my first reaction was like, oh my God. Second one, I was like, have I started to make it? Because when you have trolls, like if you have trolls, like this is a good, I'm like, bring on the trolls, because this is me. I'm starting to annoy people. I'm making them uncomfortable, right? Just by being there. So, you know, I'm going to keep being me and going to keep making that guy want to bleach his eyes because he's the way he sees my videos or whatever it was. But, you know, it's water off a duck's back. And that does come with, you know, experience and with age. And you just, you know, you let the noise doesn't really bother you anymore.
But it also comes with all of those other things that you've been talking about before, isn't it? It's about the kind of the being comfortable with who you are, your why are you doing this? And I always say to people, especially my students, that you know, sometimes are worried that somebody has been upset by something that they've done, and I always come back to intention. What was your intention when you said this or did this? And if your intention was only to do good, then you cannot control the way in which other people perceive that information. And, you know, it's for a very different reason that people have got upset.
Oh, and the reality is things are going to happen. I'll never forget. I've taken off half an eyebrow before. Was that my intention? No. Did I want the ground to open up and swallow me? Yes. But what did I do? Again, I just had to be my authentic self. I had to explain what I'm so sorry, like let's look at this in the mirror together, let's see how we can fix this, how we can, you know, powder it in for now until it grows back. And look, she never came back and saw me again, of course not, but I did my best. And I didn't get like, you know, oh, I need to speak to the manager or the owner or rate like a horrible review or anything, because things do happen, and it was never my intention to obviously take half an eyebrow off.
And I think
But
that's a really, good lesson, and something that I think a lot of our network could probably do with help with. You see a lot of people will come into Facebook groups and they will post the conversation that they've had with their client who has complained. And I often read them thinking, yeah, I'm really not surprised your client has complained, because you are responding to them as if they are the worst person. They probably are the worst person in the world at that time. But you've got to be willing to explore that maybe you have done so wrong.
Yes, and we're not willing to, right? Because again, there's so much pressure to be perfect all the time. But what I used to do in training as well, when things would go wrong in front of 100 people, and I'd be sweating underneath it all, but I would just be like, oh, I deliberately made this go wrong, because you don't learn if things don't go wrong. So in training, I could get away with it more, because if I did do something wrong, or I hurt the client, or I put, too much wax or took too much hair off, or whatever it was, I could be like, we don't learn, right? But that's not going to fly in a client therapist situation, because I'm not trying to teach her anything. She just wants the damn best service for her money. But things have happened, and I just had to be honest. Things have happened to me too. I've had terrible lash lifts that didn't work out and things like that. And we talked it out, and we just said what went wrong, and it's okay. And obviously I didn't go back there again, but you've got to be willing to be honest and transparent, and not try and cover it up at all, and not try and put fault on them. It's never their fault. With the lash lift, when it didn't work out one time, she's like, oh, well, you must have been using too much serum. It was you. And I'm like, let's not blame the client. Let's not blame the client. Maybe we should have went through those questions before we attempted the lash lift, instead of telling me that's the reason it didn't work.
Sure.
And it's all just ego. It's all just getting out of the ego. And once you realize that you're just here to serve at the highest level possible for your client, you're here to help, then mistakes are going to happen, and they will be forgiven. And guess what? You'll learn something regardless of how it turns out, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And finally, on this side, I just want to touch on quickly, but also the reason for my success with my training career is that I loved the product that I was working with, and I believed in it. And I cannot believe how many times this comes up in our industry, but if you are trying to flog a product that you don't believe in, and you don't know the key ingredients, or you don't use it yourself, your client's going to know that. Okay. So it's really important that even if you're absolutely pushed to your limits in the salon, and you have to be pushing products that you don't particularly believe in or align with, you need to at least find one or two things in that brand that you love and inside out, because your clients will pick up on this if you do not have the knowledge and the belief in the product. And that's how I was successful, because I was blessed that I was working with a product brand that I 100% believed in, and I used it every single day of my life. And that's why it wasn't selling to me. I was never a salesperson. I was the trainer, and the sales followed, because I knew my stuff and I loved the product.
I think also, just before you move on with the product, sometimes the product is about what you are selling with regard to maybe a treatment. So even if there's not actual real products, if you are talking about healthy skin, and you are not taking the supplements, watching your diet, reducing the alcohol, doing all of that sort of thing, you really can't be authentic when you're giving that advice to your client, because clients will see through you, and they'll see that you're just saying it, and that you don't really believe it.
Right. Exactly. It's very true. Not even just a physical product, but it's living and breathing the treatment that you're selling as well. Absolutely. And the reason that I wanted to mention this is because if there is a product, and I'm going to talk about this a little bit more as well, but if there is a product that you love, again, it's back to that whole, if you don't ask, the answer is always no. Send an email, send a DM, call that product brand, tell them, I love your product. I want to be an ambassador for your product. There's not many companies out there that are going to say, oh no, we don't need that. Again, they don't know you exist if you don't let them know that you exist and you're their number one fan. How do they know?
Absolutely. Good stuff, Holly.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? It's interesting when you start to just put it all together.
Yeah.
And this can be transferable. This is why I love this kind of work, because it's transferable to any part of our life, right? So what we wanted to talk to you about today mainly was that, saying yes and really opening these doors in the industry that maybe you didn't know existed. So, you're probably relating to the burnout and I don't want to be in the treatment room 5 days a week anymore. Like maybe 1 or 2 is enough and do something else.
Yeah.
Define what you want next. I can't tell you. And I come up against this all the time with therapists asking me, like, how did you get to where you got to be a trainer? And I was like, well, those 4 things, first of all, was the first thing. But I knew exactly what I wanted. I knew that I did not want to be in the treatment room. I wanted to work for a big brand that was international because I wanted to travel. I wanted stamps on my passport. I was very specific about that. So then I wasn't surprised when I started working for a product company that said, have you got a passport? And are you willing to go to all these different countries and promote our brand? Because I was very specific that that's what I wanted my career to look like, right? So as soon as you define what the next steps are, maybe you love marketing, maybe you love blog writing. Like there's so many things, that video editing, there's so many things in this industry, whatever it is. Those companies need you, right? And they need your skills. You just have to be specific on what you want and put your order out to the universe, right?
Yeah, can I just tell you a very quick story that when I left the salon, my first business was a salon. I worked as a therapist, and I left the salon to actually go into teaching full time. And a couple of people said to me, would you ever have a salon again? Would you go back and have a salon? And I said, throwaway comment, only if it was ever a training salon. And it was linked directly to training. Now, I didn't set out to create a training salon, but I know that that was what I asked for. And that's what I got. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. And you have to be very careful on choosing your words, because that was a throwaway comment, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
And I've made throwaway comments before too. And then suddenly they've come into my realm and they've manifested into reality.
Yep.
So it might not make sense at the time, or the path might not open up straight away. But once you get specific on like what it is or what brand it is or what the position is, then, you have to take action towards the goal is the next thing, right?
And actually, Holly, I don't know whether you remember, but the last time I saw you, which was probably 2016 or something, we had dinner together at the hotel that you were staying at before you flew off somewhere. And I am pretty sure we said, we'll definitely work together at some point again. I know our paths will cross. And then, disappearing out of my life, and then suddenly there you are on my Facebook feed in a completely different group is just like, well, there you go.
That is so funny, Louise, because I do remember that dinner, and we were talking about this kind of a network, right? And online training and all sorts of things. And it was about, I think it was maybe 2017 actually, but it was a little bit ahead of its time, because people weren't quite used to thinking that they had the luxury that they could just go and have everything done in person and training in person. And now we're so conditioned the other way that we're like, oh well, this is so easy, I can be working with my mentor who's across the world, or my idol, and I can enroll in their training because it's so accessible now. But we actually said that, and we weren't sure what it was going to look like, but we both were ticking over, and there's a lot in this space, and there's a lot that we have to offer. So thank you for everyone who's watching.
Absolutely.
So another one, I love this one, acting as if. Now, this is so important. If you want to be the star therapist, if you want to be the 5-star, if you want to be the trainer, if you want to be the face of a company, you need to act as if you already are. So how do you do that? Again, if you're the 5-star therapist, do you just roll into work 1 minute before you're due to start your treatments, hope that everything is set up, do a really basic kind of a treatment? Yeah, you might smile, you may not, who knows under the mask these days, you'll sort of say, oh, see you next week, it was lovely to meet you. That's the average therapist, right? And I see this all the time. if you want to go to, if you want to be the 5-star, like you're there, you know, maybe 15 minutes before your shift starts, you check your station. Yeah, you don't get paid for that. Okay. In a lot of times, you don't get paid for that. That's the reality of our industry. But it's all about your brand, because it represents your brand. When your client comes through the door and the station is immaculate and everything is set up, and it's like you were waiting for her, fancy that, you were waiting for her to come in, and she feels special and she feels, you know, really pampered, and it's all about her. And then you get her on a prescription program. And I used to teach my girls this all the time. We are doctors when we are in that room. You are not just coming to me for one Brazilian. You are not just coming to me for one facial. It's not going to solve your problems. I need to see you every 4 weeks. Okay, you need to take the exfoliating treatment. You need to be using this product, and it's non-negotiable. Okay, if you don't like that, then fine, you're not my ideal client, because I don't want someone who just comes in every couple of months, shaves here and there, doesn't exfoliate, is full of ingrowns. I don't want that client. I want my prescription clients that come in every 4 weeks and they do exactly as I say, right? And that's how they would remember my name. Please tell me your name, write it down, because no one's ever spoken to me that way before. No one's ever explained it to me. They don't want options. They want to be told what to do, right? That's what they come for. You're the expert, right? So if I want to be known as the expert, I show up as the expert. Yeah. And then suddenly, guess what? I became the expert, because I showed up as her and I embodied her even before I was her. So very true. Anything that you want in life. I love giving the example of like the millionaire version of you, right? So Louise, what would the millionaire version of you do? You know, does she roll out of bed 5 minutes before her appointments or her meetings with her next big investor? Or, you know, has she been up? Has she done her meditation that day? Has she eaten her greens? Has she had her lemon water? Like, how does she start her day? And you start to get really clear on what the millionaire version of you looks like and what she does every day, right?
And that's really, you know, when you do that exercise and then you suddenly find it's happening.
Yes,
it's quite amazing. And again, going back to it doesn't always show up in the way in which you expect it to, but you manifest this is what I would like in my life, to do this and this, and then you look back a year later and it's like, oh, how did that happen?
Guess what I'm doing now. Yeah,
I'm actually doing it.
I'm doing it, exactly. And even, you know, it doesn't have to be super specific right now, but you need to start to build the story, right? Like, you don't have to have all the answers. Like, don't put pressure on yourself to have all the answers right now, but just start to think about what it looks like and what that millionaire version of you does with her day. You know, does she now, like, I never wanted to do facials and massage because I wanted to be the pampered person on the bed. To me, that's like my dream life, when I just get to go into the spa as a guest.
Yes,
I'm there, I'm getting pampered. That's what millionaire version of me does. Millionaire version of me doesn't work on the other end of the tools anymore, right? That's what I want to manifest now. And then don't give up. As you said, like Louise had the idea for the Industry Support Network in 2017. We had that dinner, which now it's all starting to fall into place. And now look, here we are in 2022. So you never know when it's going to be delivered, right? So a couple of things, and I like talking about this because I feel like a lot of people, we get so like one track minded when we're in the treatment room. We're just like, okay, like for me, I'm like, okay, it's only Coron Lab waxes. That's all I know and breathe, and nothing else exists outside of that. But if you are looking to create a different career in this industry and you're looking to pivot, then you need to take the blinkers off and you need to look wide, because this industry is huge on a global scale, and there is new products and new inventions and new technology coming out all the time. And guess what? Just as they are evolving might be the time where you're evolving in your career, and they don't even know that they need you yet. So you need to do the research on what's your next step. What does it look like to you? Like everyone says to me, oh, how do I be a trainer? How do I be a successful trainer like you? Well, guess what? Training's not for everyone. And Louise, you can attest to this too. You have to be super patient, number one. With one-on-one training, that is damn hard. You are there, you are holding their hand. There's going to be tears shed. Like, not everyone's made for that. And I can make it look really easy, but it's not that easy. You really do have to be patient. You do have to baby them a little bit. And, you know, working in the wider education space, which is what I really thought like my calling was going to be. And in about, when was it, 2018? Had the opportunity to go back and work at the college that I studied in. And I thought, this is going to be my calling. Like, I can make an impact with these young women, you know, they're from 16 to like 30, some of them. I can really help them. Well, I will never do that job again. It was so stressful. And I really wasn't cut out for it. I really was a glorified babysitter, and I didn't like it. But there's some people that they're great at that, because they love structure and they love checking their appearance every day. I hated, you know, show me your nails, how long are they? Tie your hair back, put your lipstick on. Like, that wasn't for me, right? But I tried, and I was like, no, it's not for me. So training and education can look very glamorous, but there is also other sides of it that are not so glamorous. And you won't know until you try your hand at it and just see if it's for you, right? We do have the luxury now that there's a lot of training on Zoom. So there's opportunities to actually sit in your pajamas and do similar things. Like, that exists now. That didn't exist 2 years ago, right? Well, it did, but it was not anywhere near as big as what it is now. And then the sales and marketing, like, everyone's putting their content on YouTube. Maybe you're really good at knowing YouTube or Instagram or editing videos or making presentations. Like, it's just simple stuff, right? And sales, if you work with a product that you are the top performing seller in your salon, then something to be looked at there, right? Contact that company. I'm good at sales. Maybe they have a job for you in their office. It could be over the phone. It could be face to face. I don't know. I'm just throwing things out there. The sky is the limit. There's so many different product companies. Align yourself with the ones that you believe in.
Yeah. I think also there are an awful lot of people who, first of all, are very blinkered in this is what I do, therefore, and I think I've said it before, that this is what I do and I don't know how to do anything else. But I look at my own career. I've been in the industry, well, very long time, and I have never done anything else out of the industry, and yet I've been a therapist. I've worked in a spa. I've worked as a trainer. I've worked at City and Guilds as an external verifier. I managed a team of verifiers. I set up my own training company. I retired from training, and I now are setting up the network. So all of those things are skills that I have learned along the way. So I've spent my life collecting skills that can be fed into that. And a lot of people have skills that they don't automatically think that they can use, but actually you don't have to be the one in the front line. There's a lot of value in supporting other people and working with it within a team. It doesn't have to all be you.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because I remember early on in my career when I went for the job with Caron Lab, that consequently led to the travel and the opportunities and becoming a waxing expert. But I remember I hid certain things on my resume. And at that time, because I thought that was not transferable to that job. And at that time, I had a lot of experience in retail. And I was like, oh, they're not going to want to see this. This is like manufacturing. This is business to business. This is not dealing with the end consumer, right? So I hid that. And then the conversation came up. And I was like, oh, yeah, like I have extensive retail background. They're like, oh, that wasn't on your resume. And I was like, oh, no, I just didn't think it was important. And like, but look, like if you've dealt with face-to-face customers in your face who are upset about something and you've had to de-escalate that, then you're going to be really good at that over the phone. Because at that time, my job was over the phone sales, right? So again, I didn't think it was transferable, retail to phone, over the phone sales. But then what I thought was valuable was different to what they thought was valuable, and vice versa, right? So, well, you don't know how like that one like work experience or opportunity, or that one gap in your resume, that 1 year of your life where you took off around the world, or whatever you did, could be transferable to the next thing that you're going for. So always stay, true to your story, because
Yeah, that's
skills,
really
right?
interesting, actually. It's sort of making me think. One of the things that I loved when I was working in the salon was difficult clients. I used to love when somebody would say, "Oh, so and so is coming in today. She's really fussy." I would see that as a real challenge. And it goes back to when I was 16, 17. I worked at Tesco's on the customer service desk, and I learned to fall on my sword and to apologize and to find a way around. And I loved being able to turn people from a into a "oh, thank you."
Yes. Right. And I used to love that too. Like, always, I'd be like, difficult customer, that's fine. Send it to me. I'm not the manager. I don't get paid for it. That's fine. But I would like to handle that, because it's a challenge. And when you win them over, then, it's all about those little challenges, right? And overcoming.
Definitely.
I love that. So I was just going to take a little pause here, just for those that are still with us. And I know it can seem overwhelming, so I want to acknowledge that, because it's easy for Louise and I to sit here and say, "Oh, well, we started as therapists and then went into training, and now we're doing, industry support network," and make it sound really easy. We had lots of challenges along the way, and we didn't always know this is exactly where we would end up, right? So I just want to bring your attention just a little bit to, first of all, we'll just take a minute. I've got my clock here, so I won't go over time. So whether you're sitting or standing, just become aware of your feet, that they are grounded on the ground. Yes, let's do a little bit of grounding. This is good you'll sleep well tonight after this. And then just let's become aware of our breath. So let's just take a inhale, exhale. Let's just do one more. Inhale and exhale, and just close your eyes during this time. And I just want you to think about where your place of calm is. Okay, just take yourself there right now. So it could be a meadow, it could be a forest, it could be a beautiful beach that has overhanging palm trees. Whatever it looks like to you, it's your place of calm. So you just go there. And once we're there, just take a little look around. What do you see? What do you hear? Do you hear the sounds of the waves of the ocean crashing? Is there anyone there with you, or are you just in solitude in this place of calm because you just want to be quiet? And once we've got clear on what we're hearing and what we're seeing, I just want you to call on your higher self and just ask your higher self to come with you now to this place of calm. It's just you and your higher self. And just ask your higher self this: if you could be, do, or have anything, what would you be, do, or have? Let's just feel our feet again and make sure we are connected to the earth. And just one more deep breath. In and exhale. Okay. And then just come back. And again, don't expect to have the answer right now, but guess what? You've just planted a seed with the universe. And watch out for signs, watch out for thoughts, watch out for feelings, watch out for conversations that you might overhear, things that come into your realm now that you have planted that seed of what could I be, do, or have if I could be, do, or have anything. All right. And if you do get any breakthroughs, shoot us a message. We'd love to hear. It's a very valuable little exercise. Just when we're feeling overwhelmed, just plant seeds. Don't watch them grow. Just let them go into the universe and see what comes. As Louise said, it was 2017, and it wasn't until 2022 that she's really getting the momentum of figuring out what she's doing with this industry support network. So we don't all get it overnight. And that just brings me to, I would just like to share, because now you're like, well, are you still this waxing trainer? What are you doing? I haven't touched a waxing specialist since 2020. So now this is what I'm doing. So to dive a little bit deeper with me, I've put together a program. It's actually a 12-week program. So essentially you work with me one-on-one. We do a variety of coaching, and we're using Reiki energy healing. So a little bit unique, and this is what I've come up with. So my slogan there is, are you ready to be captivated, empowered, and inspired? So first thing we do is we go through your unique design. Now, I'm not sure if you've even heard about this one, Louise. If you
No, I haven't. No.
Human design. Now, with human design, I like to say it comes into your realm right when you need it. Some people will never discover human design in this lifetime, and that's okay because they don't need it. But when you discover it, it is worth looking a little bit further. It is basically the energetic version of the Myers-Briggs. So it tells you all about your unique personality from an energy standpoint, right? So it gives you things that help you with strategy and decision-making to reach your goals. So if you feel like you've been banging your head up against the wall because you're trying everything and it's not working to get you closer to your goals, we go in, we have a look at your human design, and that tells me how I need to coach you. So basically, I have an insight to how you work and operate before we even start, right? So this has changed my life. I found human design in 2020. I studied it in 2021, and now I use it in every part of my life. Everything, simple decisions from even like what to have for dinner. Okay. So it can be put into every aspect of your work, life, everything. So unique design is the first thing that we establish when we work together. The second thing, I've already talked about this so much, but your all important purpose, we tap into your why. Okay. Your why is unique to you. There's no shame around your why. Some people do things purely because they're motivated by money. Okay. That's your why. That's not up to me to say that that's not a good enough why. Some people do things that they don't get paid near enough for because they just want to help people. That's their why. And that's not my judgment either, right? But your why is unique to you. And again, by using your unique human design, mixed in with a little bit of Reiki energy healing, we really tap into why you're actually doing what you're doing. Not just what you're going to tell me. We're going to energetically discover your why. The next one is your blueprint. So how can we do anything without a plan? We can't really. So again, we put together an energetic plan that is going to help to remove potential blockers to your success. Now, a lot of the things I've been learning recently is that how-to content does not do as well as it used to. 5 years ago, how-to content was the booming thing, right? Download my free ebook, watch my free video, attend my free webinar, which is what we're doing right now. But what if we made that a lot easier? And we said, instead of adding extra things to your plate, why don't we just take some things off your plate? Let's remove the things that haven't been getting you towards the goals. Let's look at things that have helped you get success in the past. Let's double down on them. Let's remove those limiting beliefs, as we said, about walking into work and feeling undervalued. Going in with that attitude every day is not helping you to become valued in your workplace. So let's remove that thought and let's replace it with something positive that will help you. So instead of adding, let's take stuff away. Let's make your life easier by making a blueprint that's simplified, right? Instead of making it complicated.
I like that.
Yeah. The next thing is the rewiring. Now, this is where the work really comes in. And I'm sure you can agree with this, Louise, especially like in the Tony Robbins space, and everyone's a coach and all of this. And, we love to take in the knowledge and soak it all in, but then we just, we shut off today and then we'll go about our business and nothing really changes. If you don't rewire your brain and you don't decondition and unlearn these thoughts, these patterns that you've been telling yourself, nothing changes. It's like your meditation example, right? You had to keep going at it. You couldn't just pick up one day and go, right, I'm going to do my 21 days in a row of meditation when I've never done even 5 minutes. Like it's really deconditioning and unlearning these barriers and rewiring. And until we do that, we can't have those breakthroughs on the other side. It's hard to do the work, I know, but once you commit and you do the work, and that's the purpose of working with someone, that you resonate with their message and you trust, they're there to hold your hand through the process, right? That's when it becomes a lot easier. The mindset. So obviously once we rewire and we remove all these things that are holding you back, then we implant the things that are going to set you up for successful conscious manifestation. Conscious manifestation, what is that? Well, we're walking around every day and everything is a manifestation, right? Yeah. So again, back to the example of we walk into work and we say we're undervalued. We manifest more of being undervalued. Then we go home and we feel undervalued because guess what we thought about all day? Being undervalued. So then we're undervalued by our partner, our children, our friends, always feeling undervalued. So let's consciously manifest what we want, which is to be valued. Yeah. Right? If that's the thing, then let's set that up. Let's use language. Let's use energy. Let's use affirmations. Let's use actions that set you up for the conscious manifestation of what you want versus what you don't want. And that comes back to everything is energy. You'll only attract what's a vibrational match for you at that time. And we dive in a bit deeper with the mindset work. And then finally, it's awareness. Self-awareness, like common sense, not so common. And once we become aware of like, hey, the only thing that's holding me back is me. And here's because this is the story I've been telling myself for the last 5, 10, 20 years. Let's change that. Let's be aware of the patterns that don't work. Let's double down on the things that do work. And let's create habits that stick. So if you come to me and you say, I do want to be able to meditate for an hour a day, then we will create a pattern and habits that set you up for success with that, if that's what you wanted to do, for example. And that's kind of how it works. So that's kind of the space I'm in. You can also book in for a human design reading with me, just to find out more about your design and start living by your design. And you can book in for a distance Reiki healing with me as well. So we can start small and then, build up that relationship and then take it from there. But this is what I'm doing now. So it's very exciting.
It is very exciting. Very exciting. And what I like about it so much, Holly, is that it's actually really simple.
Right. Right.
And I love things. And I mean, I hear myself saying it, quite often, usually to my close friends or my family in particular. That's your choice to think that. It's your choice to believe that. You actually could believe something different, and it's so true. Everything is a choice. And I know it's sometimes more complicated and more difficult, yes. But it's actually not.
No, we overcomplicate it because yes, there is a level of work that needs to go in, and the change is not just going to happen like that because of the rewiring stage. But when we peel it all back, we're all simple, and really we're all just traumatized 7-year-olds at the end of the day, because a lot of our conditioning happens to us from 0 to 7, right? So it's getting back in touch with that playful, joyous side of us that we were when we were children, and realizing that those beliefs, they're just beliefs. They're not facts. We can change them, but it's just having that, systematic, simplified way of doing it so that it's not so daunting of like, I'm too far gone, because we never are.
No. Oh, Holly, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. And I know that you are going to help a lot of people manifest and become the best version that they possibly can be, and that's what it's all about, isn't it?
It is. And thank you so much. This is really exciting. We can't wait to get the feedback. Thank you for those that attended live, and we look forward to the feedback in the Facebook group, and I'll be popping in there to add some more value over there as well. So catch us there.
That's great. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Louise. It's been really fun. It's good to just, bounce off each other. And I look forward to what is next for the Industry Support Network. And I'm really happy to be involved.
Great.